seen too much.
It's all good. All right, because we don't have a crazy controversial thing today. I'm getting us up out of here.
Yeah, let's do it.
And
It's a.
all right, good evening all. Today is Tuesday, May 6, 2025. We are here for the City of Albany Planning Board meeting, hearing, et cetera, et cetera. We don't have a huge agenda tonight, but nonetheless, still just as important. The rules of procedure are on the planning board website. If there's anybody that would like to speak on behalf of a project and did not sign up before the meeting, I believe there is an opportunity for you to sign up now. I don't know how much new stuff we have in here. That being said, presenters have 10 minutes. Folks that would like to reply have 3. If you are an elected representing a wider swath of the community, you have double, which is 6 minutes. And we want to make sure that for decorum's sake, we address all questions to the board and we're not cross-talking from applicant or respondent to each other. And we're focused on asking questions, posing those questions to the board or to our staff. So that being said, joined by planning board colleagues, Rachel Bryster, Shadi Kennedy, Martin Hall, and abstention, Glenissa Gilliard. I am Chair Chris Ellis. We have staff and council, capable staff and council with us here from the city. And we can get started on the consent agenda. I don't know if my colleagues, have you all seen the agenda? Everything is good. It had to be posted, so we're square. We don't need to approve it. Our consent item is for the construction of the nearly 58,000 square foot expansion of 126 State Street and the adjacent lot. This is for the addition that we talked about for the Capitol Center. This is on a consent agenda for conditional use permit, development plan review, a waiver on the street amenities, and a waiver for street trees. I don't know. I would hope that the applicant is not looking to do a full presentation today, but we're really looking, or any comments from the planning board staff before we place this on consent. Good. Okay. So we see our recommended action is for approval of the street amenities and street trees, and also approval of conditional use permit. Is there a motion? Is there a second?
Seconded.
It's moved and seconded to place on the consent agenda and advance development plan number 242, conditional use permit number 94, for the approval of a waiver for street amenities, a waiver for street trees, and the conditional use permit. And we have a third one, that is more. Also, what we want to include in that is a development plan review with the 5 conditions listed on the screen. I want to give you all a chance to read those conditions. I know they were included in our packet, but just making sure that we are okay with that before we advance. All right. Hearing no readiness, council, any final comment? All right. All in favor of the 4 actions under consideration, tree amenity waiver, street tree waiver, conditional use permit, and the development plan review with the following 5 listed conditions. Please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. Next is for 70, 108 through 114 Grand Street on our hearing agenda. This is for development plan review and conditional use permit. Community builders, are they in the house?
Yes.
All right, please come forward. We know you want to do construction of a 5,511 single-family, 2-story building, including a community center, general office space at 70 grand, as well as construction of 4 3-story dwelling townhouses of about almost 4,000 square feet, and then one for 3,453 square feet, 3,777 square feet, and 3,348 square feet at 108 grand, 110 grand, 112 grand, and 114 grand. Our action for today is regarding secret, so the floor is yours.
Hello, my name is Bennett Balmer, and I'm a project manager with the Community Builders, and I'm joined by Niyanti Shetty.
I'm with Springline Design Architecture and Engineering. I'm the project manager from Springline side.
So the Community Builders is a not-for-profit real estate developer and building manager. And here in the Capital District, we have the Mansion Initiative. So this is the site. This is 108-114 Grand Street. And our intention is to, we already have 11 existing historic townhouses on the block. They operate as affordable housing. And we are looking to expand our footprint on the block. And we see the Mansion Initiative as a revitalization project of the block and of the neighborhood. 108-114 was the site of a catastrophic fire about 2 years ago. And from the ashes of those buildings, we're looking to construct 4 contextual affordable townhouses. So this is 70 Grand Street, where we would have our tenant and managerial hub. One of the issues that would come up when we would speak to our current existing tenants is that they had no place to congregate. And our building offices are currently in the basement of one of our townhouses. So here at 70 Grand, we would construct a tenant and managerial hub. So tenants would have a laundry, community space, and we would also have the Albany Police Department wants to do a community outreach office on this site. On the top floor, we would have our managerial offices.
For 70 Grand Street, we also would like to request an administrative adjustment for the impervious lot coverage. The USDO 37554E states that the impervious lot coverage for an MUNE district is 70%, but for this particular property, we're at 76%. So we're within the 10% of administrative adjustment allowance that is cited in the USD code section. So we would like to request that you guys provide us an approval for the impervious lot coverage to be 76%, and we will send a letter to the planning board for requesting for this adjustment.
Okay. Next slide. So this is the first floor plan, which is where we would have our tenant amenities. Next slide. Our managerial offices. As I stated, we would have our regional and building offices on the second floor, and they would keep office hours. Next slide. So currently these are vacant lots. 108, 114 it was the site of the fire, and then 70 Grand Street, the structure was demolished a few years ago by the city of Albany. So this is our proposed site plan. Those are the 4 townhouses, correct?
Yes.
So these are the 4 townhouses that would be affordable to people at 60% AMI. They lie on Grand Street and Ash Grove.
That's the exterior street elevation of the existing buildings on the left and the 4 proposed buildings. This is just to show the scale of the new proposed buildings to the existing buildings and also the characteristics of the proposed buildings in relation to the existing exterior facades of the building.
108 Grand is the first building out of the series of 4.
That's the proposed materials for 108 Grand Street. We're proposing brick veneer with stud walls on the exterior walls to make sure we're in tandem with the street aesthetic of Grand Street.
110 Grand elevations. You can go to the next slide.
We received comments from the Historic Resource Committee about proposing different types of trims and cornices on the exterior elevation, so they're not similar, but slightly different in their characteristics. So that was the intent, to have a sense of cohesion, but also at the same time, like propose different colors of brick, have different composition with window sizes, while maintaining the minimum sizes of the openings of the windows.
Next slide. And this is the corner building, 114 Grand, and the elevations. Next slide.
That's the elevation from Ashgrove Place, because you can see the corner facade of 114 Grand Street from that elevation. These are elevations for 70 Grand Street. And that's the street elevation of 70 Grand Street in relationship to the 2 existing buildings on either side.
Next slide.
These are the floor plans. We've included the garden level plan, first floor plan, second floor plan. Each of these plans include 2-bedroom apartments. 108 through 112 have 2-bedroom apartments. 114, the first floor unit is an accessible unit, so we were only able to propose 1 bedroom in that building, but on the upper floors and the first and second floor, we have 2 bedrooms. The shapes of the plans are a little funky because they follow the profile of the plots, and they need to be adjacent to each other.
We have done considerable community outreach. We have met with really all the elected officials. We've met with Councilmember Derek Johnson, now the state senator, former Assemblywoman, and also the new Assemblywoman, County Legislator Sam Fine is on the block. But we also have been in touch with community stakeholders, including the Trinity Alliance and CARES. And in the fall, we attended a neighborhood association meeting as well. And we've been in touch and have a letter from the Albany Police Department about taking a community outreach office on the block. That intersection of Grand and Madison has been a hot spot, and I think that the police department, we're happy to partner with them and have them expand their presence on the block and have sort of a set of eyes. So the Mansion Initiative will be 100% affordable housing. It currently is affordable housing, so we would extend. We would do a refinancing of the 11 existing townhouses. They're at 50% AMI. They would be expanded in affordable housing well into the future, as well as all the other, we have 3 vacant townhouses that would get renovations, and then our new construction, which we're discussing this evening. All of it would be affordable, using fossil fuels on the 11 existing townhouses and the 3 vacant. So thank you for considering the mansion initiative. We're happy to be involved in affordable housing here in Albany, and we really see this as a revitalization project on the block and also in the neighborhood.
Any questions from the board?
Okay,
Yeah,
I'm,
we presented last year.
okay.
At the bottom of those technical, just a couple of follow-ups from previous.
That's what I was looking, yeah.
On that Grand Street corridor, I guess if we consider the activity of the social fabric of it, it's probably Grand and Trinity sort of together. I would say from that street that crossed with the League of Women Voters old office building, all the way down to where the gardens are. Is that fair? Or we hone in on Grand Street between Madison and Ash Grove. Do we know how many buildings there are? We can surely count them if we just looked at a map. And you said this footprint would be your 11 that you currently do plus
3,
5.
yeah, plus 3 vacant townhouses that will be getting gut renovations, and then 70 grand, and then 108 through 114. And then we own 69 Grand Street, which is a vacant lot, will stay that way. And we own 12 Ash Grove as well,
We are
13.
proposing parking for 69 Grand Street, because 69 and 71 Grand Street are consolidated.
So it's fair to say that you control the block.
Yes and no. I mean, we would like to, we're expanding our footprint. And we are going to do so with the help of the state of New York and the city of Albany as well. And we see a play here because we're already in those 11 buildings, which we picked up at the turn of the century and really put in some capital into those buildings. And we're willing to put even more in, along with our partners in the state and the city. We'd love to have more, but obviously the constraints of affordable housing financing are such that we feel like this is the mix to go forward.
I don't know how long I've been on the board. Martin, how long we been on?
Long time.
I think I've seen a lot of different types of projects come before us. And I'm generally seeing neighborhoods with pitchforks come in when there are affordable housing, especially if we're talking about at the 50 to 60% of AMI level, which in today's inflationary society is saying that somebody at a single person in a $30,000 to $40,000 a year realm for a family of 4 in the $40,000 to $42,000, $45,000 realm. And I see as at a certain extent, well, this could lock it in and make Grand Street, which I'm very familiar with, its reputation, conditions, and all of that stuff locked in. I heard you say that they wanted to put the community policing department in your in your one admin building,
They
right?
have an outreach room, yeah.
An outreach room. I mean, the police station's 200 yards away
It's-
currently.
Yeah.
They have the mobile unit with the big lights and camera and stuff on it currently.
Yes.
It's interesting. So I'll pay attention. I think tonight we're really only looking at seeker. But find it interesting and also telling. The state, the city, we're making a decision. We'll lock it in, and that eastern border is sort of like the transition, and it's very interesting how different 2 blocks up towards the governor's mansion is in comparison to Grand. And I would love it if there was some sort of partner, brave soul that would consider some additional type of development. Would certainly not want to ever block those that are in need. But the tapestry, the diversity that we're really talking about should also be economic, as opposed to what I see as almost like locking it in. So enough social commentary for me tonight. Are there any comments from staff?
We do have an overall project map, sorry, we were trying to find it. So 70 Grand Street is considered a minor DPR, but there is a conditional use permit required, so that's why it's in front of the planning board. And it was last before the board last July, first project introduction. So it might be a little bit of conflict on that. Community center use is under 3,000 square feet, so that part doesn't require a CUP, but the office general does require CUP in the MUN district. Both of the projects, 70 Grand and the 108 through 114, are in the HRO, which requires major certificate of appropriateness review by HRC, which they've submitted those applications, so they'll be going through that review as well. Maya touched on the impervious lot coverage, so we'll kind of continue working through that discussion with that submitted letter, requesting that adjustment. The site plan has been revised to include city standard details for sidewalk installation and the appropriate number of street tree planting, so that's been revised, we're moving forward with that. And a lot of exempt from off-street parking requirements because it's less than 5,000 square feet. In the previous appearance, there was, I think maybe Shadi had a question about the radio tower and antenna in the rear of the lot.
Yes, access.
Yeah, so in this latest submission, it is shown on some of the sheets, and they provided a draft of the radio tower easement. So as part of that kind of finalization, we'll look for, probably include it as a conditional final approval, to look for some kind of final easement agreement between the owner
Who
of
owns it,
that,
yeah.
For the construction, exactly how that access is maintained. So it's just an update on
You
that.
said prior to construction? I didn't catch that last bit. So
We would
when do
include
you
that
want to
as a
see the
condition.
easement
We would include it as a condition,
for approval?
Yeah.
yeah. Because presumably you would be interacting with it during construction. Right?
Okay.
So,
I do it.
there's a draft easement you have already.
Yes,
so
yeah.
Presumably you're in touch with them.
Yes, I mean, it's, we'll make it happen.
And then for the 108 through 114 Grant Street, that is a major DPR, as we discussed before, 3-story dwelling townhouses. And there is accessory off-street parking proposed, which would be access via curb cut on Ash Grove, with an ADA space as well. Because one of the, it's required just based on the number of spaces. Again, HRO, so the appropriateness is required. The front and side yard setbacks have been revised to meet the standards. Just need a little more clarification on the previous lot coverage. The site plan was revised to include some of the amenities, but I think we may expect a partial waiver for relief from that standard, just based on the available space in the right of way there. Just wasn't maybe practicable. The site plan was also revised to include street trees, both along Grand Street and Ash Grove Place, so they meet the standard there. And then when we looked at the site plan between the townhouses and the proposed off-street parking, there's a 3-foot wide parcel owned by the city that kind of affects the two. So Community Builders is proceeding with acquiring that parcel from the city. So that is progressing as well. For the seeker and Albany County Planning Board, the seeker review is being done for the project as a whole, and the action is classified as unlisted, given, Bennett was speaking about the public funding. So we did initiate coordinated review last summer, so that those agencies were aware of the project, aware of the planning board had sought lead agency. And part 1 of the short EAF was submitted along with the application materials, and then we provided a part 2 and 3 of the short EAF for your consideration to be adopted along with the recommended negative declaration tonight. Again, because the project is located in the HRO, the project did submit a Phase 1A archaeology report, as well as a SHPO letter of no effect that we recently received. So everything's squared away as far as that's concerned. And then the Albany County Planning Board referral was sent last July, and they have recommended that SHPO review was done, and as we just said, it was done, and there was no further review needed. Departmental review, still more comments to work through. I think probably just hopefully one more round of review, and then hopefully we can be back. So there's a few kind of outstanding DGS, very minor comments related to what permits will be needed. Water Department provided a comment in March related to the system plan set, and then the Engineering Department provided a comment letter noting that a geotech report provided and a grading permit would not be required. As Chris mentioned, the only action under consideration is for seeker. So as I said, we would recommend adopting a negative declaration.
Thank you. Any additional comments from the board? Seeing none, is there a motion for negative declaration on seeker for this project?
Motion to
Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded for negative declaration for seeker for this project. Is there any unreadiness? Seeing none, we'll call for the vote. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those no have the same right. Motion carried. Thank you. Yep. Next is on our meeting agenda, development plan review for 10/20/23 Second Ave, 325, 329, 331 South Pearl Street, MGD Development. They are here, ready to go. Construction of a total of 62 single, 2, 3, and multi-unit dwelling structures totaling 166 dwelling units. Sounds big. Floor is yours.
Good evening. My name is Andrew Burns. With me tonight is Eduardo Navarro from Pastor Associates representing MDG Development, and we are seeking development plan review approval for our South End development project. A little background, the overall project proposes 166 affordable units throughout the city's South End across 63 different parcels. Located within the MUNE, MUNC, and RT districts. But we are focusing in tonight on our 5-unit multifamily buildings, DPR 0183, 0184, 0185, and 0118. The remainder are townhome style buildings, and I believe are considered minor on DPR application. date, we've been in front of the board 3 to 4 times. Most recently, receiving our secret negative declaration for the entire project scope. We've received our SHPO no impact letter, which was obviously required for that neg deck. When we did the phase 1A and phase 1B RPO study for that. Eduardo and his team has attended multiple meetings with the Historic Review Commission, and we did achieve and receive 27 COAs for the project. Coordination with city planning has been ongoing with their departmental reviews. We've most recently received our 3rd round of comments that we responded to for these DPRs today. This morning, we should be happy to review those responses if the board would like. We've also reviewed the staff report and are agreeable with any remarks and conditions made. So with that, our first DPR here is located at 10 Second Ave. As you can see, a part of this, we're going to be relocating some lot lines and then cleaning up the sidewalks in general. If we want to switch to the next slide.
I apologize. We're having some PowerPoint issues.
Okay.
Allow me a second. I have to reload this again.
Not a problem.
You can tell our computer's really working hard. You can hear the fan.
Yeah.
Hamster wheel going.
Yeah. Inside it.
Great, thank you very much.
Thank you.
So part of all of these buildings, which will look, most of them are situated on corner lots, we're replacing sidewalks and curbs along both frontages. Where there's not existing street trees that can be protected, we'll be providing new ones. And I'd say the largest difference between the last time we were in front of you is the addition of the bioretention areas in the back of the sites or on the sides of the sites, which will also include landscaping. Again, this is to help meet SWIP requirements for New York State DEC and the city.
And yeah, I can speak about the elevations. So we have gone through these with the Historic Review Commission. As you'll see later on in the presentation, the RT district townhouse-like structures are more narrow and attached and more of the row house type of look that is prevalent in this area. But at these corner locations, we are providing bigger units that have three in this particular building, 3-bed units, 5 3-bed units on the ground floor. There'll be an accessible unit, and in this particular building, we'll have sort of office property management amenities. So there are offices here. You can see the larger windows on the 2nd Avenue side, or on the Broad Street side and the 2nd Avenue side are for those office spaces, which we can see in the next slide. You can see the plan. So they're on the ground floor. For the first floor, on the bottom right of this plan, you can see that that's where the property manager and their offices will be. The unit to the left is the accessible unit, and then on the 2nd and 3rd floor, there's 2 additional units on each floor with 3 beds.
We can probably jump to the site plan for 23 2nd Ave, DPR 0184. Similarly, replacing the sidewalk there, cleaning up the frontage, street trees. The ADA accessible entrance is going to be on the Clinton Street side. Due to this grade change, stairs will be required along 2nd Ave. Again, bringing some green space, surface water treatment, and landscaping into this plan. Other than that, no real changes to the site plan.
And it's very similar to the other, in elevation wise, or very similar to the 2nd and Broad. So here, the materials that we're using are lap siding and some panels. These are much larger buildings. The smaller buildings are all predominantly lap siding. But here, because they have a little bit of more of a amenity spaces down on the ground floor, they're a little bit larger buildings, so we've gone with materials that sort of complement that size. Here we have, I believe, the laundry and fitness for the development. So part of our requirements with the state, with HCR, is that these developments also provide amenities to the tenants. And in this case here, we'll be providing a public laundry. The units will have hookups for washers and dryers, but these will be supplemental to the tenants to be able to come in and have their laundry done if they don't have a washer or dryer, or if it's not working. And there's also a bit of a fitness area that's available via fobs, so that there is security and access only to the tenants.
One of the only differences with this site here for DPR 0185 is there's an existing parking lot that we'll be removing, so we'll definitely be adding some green space here. Again, similarly, going to make sure it's cleaned up with street trees and the curb, new sidewalk. And just a note on these bioretention areas, I would like to note these aren't going to be standing ponds. These are going to be areas that are kind of the first flush off the building. It'll infiltrate through the system within 2 hours, and then it'll drain into the city sewer systems. These will not be standing ponds, more just areas to catch that first flush, the initial stormwater volume, but it will be enough there to support some good vegetations for the sites.
So it's very similar. This one here, it's a different, little bit of the different configurations, more longer than it is square, so it's more rectangular. So you'll see that in plans. So here we were able to provide our community room, which would be along the second half side. There'll be an entrance, and also along the Tunis Street side. So you see in the plan, we'll have a community room for this specific building for gatherings and other events for the tenants.
329 South Pearl Street, DPR 0188. Not a corner lot. We have provided access. The entire thing, I believe, entire building will be ADA accessible, at least the first floor. With mechanical rooms along the side and rear, we'll have access via asphalt. And we were able to tuck the bio in the back there, so hiding it from street view, but we'll still be there for required treatment, stormwater runoff.
So here we have very similar, except that because it's along South Pearl, and the adjacent buildings are more of the commercial brick type, there's sort of a band that follows that storefront profile from the neighboring buildings. So from South Pearl Street, you'll see mainly the sort of the peach and the lighter tan color elevation alongside. The main entrance there on the right side of that entrance is an available space for future commercial tenant that's to be determined, but it provides some type of retail availability in that spot. And other than that, it's actually in this particular building, what has changed from the previous time we were here is the state required us to have a 4-unit building that was fully accessible on the ground floor. We had the ground floor of a 2-level 4-bed single-family home, but they wanted all the bedrooms to be accessible. So then we were asked to locate a 4-bed accessible unit. So here on the left-hand side of the ground floor is our 4-bed unit that is fully accessible, and then there's 2 additional 4-bed units on the second and third floor, along with 3-bed units on the other half of the And
Get through unless there's anything in particular.
We don't have
Touch
any
on?
major updates on the minor.
no, these were all, from the last time we were here, these have now been, they were commented by the Historic Review Commission, and we went through the process of getting approval for the 27 COAs, which it was a large undertaking, but as you can see from these plans and elevations, it's quite a bit. It's a very significant development that has many buildings throughout the area. So you can just probably go through those. There's some single units that are 2 stories, some attached 3-story built structures. And it goes up to 222, so you can just, and then 221 and 222 are kind of larger developments there.
Any questions from the board?
I have a little bit. Okay.
You go ahead.
Mine are, so what's hard to figure out, aside from looking at like Google at the same time, is the contextual. Like we have the plans, we have your buildings, but it's really hard to grasp the scale in the context. Has the HRC asked you for that?
We, yes, and we do have, I don't know if you can open it, but we do have our site plan and elevation that has all the, it's quite large, which shows the adjacent buildings, the colors and sort of
The context
sort of
is very
street-
hard to
street
understand,
view,
right?
A street view of the,
Yes.
I'll look at it again. And so that's a little bit disorienting. I'll double check it again. And the other question I was curious about is the ADA units. Do you have to have an accessible route designated from like a bus stop for this proposal? Like how does it work? Because you're not providing parking, right?
we're not providing parking,
So by code.
yeah, so because what we can control is the main entrance. So for us, it starts from the sidewalk, trying to get that cleaned up as much as possible. Obviously,
But technically get it to like a bus stop, right? Like there must be a bus stop nearby, right?
there are bus stops on 2nd Avenue.
Mm-hmm.
So from there, we are able to, there are some crosswalks that we're redoing.
Potentially, yes.
Potentially.
That'd be the other question. Is that if it is a part of the accessible route, are there crosswalks that you sort of overlap with to your accessible route? You gotta think about someone, if you're making the effort to make an accessible building, you gotta kind of.
Yeah, and I think one of the things that we've done with the site plan and with the, on 2nd Ave, where we have the majority of our larger accessible units, is to make sure that the sidewalks are all redone.
Yeah, I saw that's a great effort within the context, but you made such a big effort to make everything accessible, then you'd have to push it and see a little bit where are the crosswalks to make sure it is accessible. It's something to consider for the better of the route, right? I have a few more questions, but you can jump in too.
The 62 structures, 166 units, off the top of your head, what's the total bedroom count?
take a guess here, I think it's about 321.
Don't crash.
Open these.
Similar to the applicant that just left, it's when you talk about control and influence, this you're creating a new neighborhood.
You basically,
Adults and kids.
kids.
It's a totally new neighborhood. Again, familiar with the space, has seen probably decades of disinvestment. What are the parameters, the economic parameters for? I'm sure you're involved in a few government programs to help get this thing off the ground for you at scale. Or what are your AMI terms and things of that nature?
I don't know if anyone from the ownership group is logged on. They said that they try to fill. I don't know exactly. I was trying to look it up. while we were-
Asher?
Yeah, or Asher or Phil, are they on the?
They can hear you.
They can hear it, but they can't speak.
They can, now they can.
Okay,
Hi,
if they can.
This is Asher Toporowski. I don't know if Phil's on as well, but to answer your question, we are targeting what's called income averaging here, so that the AMI levels will range from lower level AMIs up to, I believe, we're targeting, 70%, so that the average is around the 60% that the last presenter was referring to. We have a range of incomes in order to make it more of a community-centric kind of development.
So it's, the average is 60%, you said?
Under under the federal guidelines, which is the majority of the funding for this project, it's a low-income housing tax credit project. You have to always average out to 60, but they changed the rules recently to allow you to average. You can go, obviously, when you average, right, you can have some higher, some lower, but the overall average is going to always hit 60. But we have reserved units at lower levels and higher levels so that you can, because what we really want to target here is we want to see this neighborhood grow. And so we felt that that was important to have that averaging so you could have some people above, some people below, and some people at, if that makes sense.
It does. Can you provide me with clarity on what your definition of grow is?
So I think it's a question right now whether we can actually rent the units beyond 60% of AMI. So that's going to be a discussion that we're having. But the idea is, yes, the growth is to that potentially leave some units so that people who do make higher incomes and eventually want to move into the neighborhood won't be
Gotcha.
restricted from doing so.
Understood. Thank you. Just looking at the basic sort of population and demographic, probably understanding that we would have a project of this scale, I just think you all owe it to not only the members of the board that are going to help you try to advance this thing, the staff that are working behind the scenes, but to the entire community to do right by trying to do this. I'm not in any which way, shape, or form trying to say what you're doing is easy at all. But I think that the folks that have lived in that poverty desert for the last 30 to 50 years plus, when this community was hollowed out when they built the plaza, they deserve somebody to at least give them a fighting chance and a shot. So whatever in your world of exquisite development you can dip in there and figure out how to make this great for those folks, please try. And we'll work with you here on getting through this part of the gauntlet Staff is working with you, obviously, to get through the process. But that is an entirely new neighborhood in the city of Albany that you are creating. Because there's probably gonna be more people in the new units that you make than currently live in those blocks. It's Red X heaven down there. And I think everybody, board, staff, everybody should be really eyes wide open as to what we're actually doing right now. Shawty saw you.
Oh, I think, so this, I know your development is housing, right? And so, like how you described, there's a due diligence in that community. And so housing is one component, but it's a little bit of a food desert. There's an opportunity to do some mixed use. And what that allows for the community would be great. I think it is a new neighborhood essentially and targeting people to come in. And so, but there needs to be other amenities that come in as well to make it successful, right? Or a pharmacy, or like a CVS, right? There's like so much not there.
We did speak with the land bank, and that's why that one spot is open up on South Pearl with hopefully something like that can provide something that provides a need and a good one. A pharmacy would be, when we met with the land bank like 2-3 years ago, I think there was a pharmacy that had just closed in that area.
Right.
And, that was one of the pushes for that commercial space. Obviously, what goes in there is to be determined, but obviously having the community in mind is something that the development team has reached out to community members there. And hopefully by the time that this is completed, that those opportunities are there.
Yeah, there's some nice infrastructure around there with the bike path, right? I think it's one of the neighborhoods that actually has a protected bike lane. Those are great amenities for a community to grow in. And so how you target and reach out to developers and strategize could only be more successful for your projects themselves, right?
All right. I know staff you all have a couple things to get through on this one, right?
As we talked about the scale, there are 17 minor development plan reviews, which would ultimately be reviewed and recommended for approval by Chief Planner. it. When the project was previously before the board, it was for seeker determination, and the project has been reviewed as a whole, so it's not to be segmented. The action is classified as one, and as Andrew mentioned, there was a phase 1A and 1B provided along with the letter. It stated no historic properties, including archaeological and or historic resources, would be adversely affected. And then in September, the board had adopted the part 2 and 3 of the long EAF along with the negative declaration. So that's all squared away. So there's just kind of a final outstanding Department of Water and Water Supply comments. Zero, Eduardo and Andrew have been working for quite a while with the water department on infrastructure concerns. So that's primarily the outstanding comment, is to just kind of square that away. There's quite a bit of infrastructure work and improvements tied to the project. So there'll be quite a bit of road repair as well associated with that for you. So really that's the last outstanding comment from our side of things. For these 4 specific major DPRs, 3 of them, I believe, have lot modifications, consolidation, or slight adjustments to the parcel lines tied with them. For the minor DPRs, a number of them have that as well, but those would be the 2 conditions we recommend. So from our standpoint, we recommend approval with those conditions. We've been working with applicants for over a year now from this side of things. Prior to that, it had another iteration that had been going for some other year prior to that, slightly smaller scale.
Is it back and forth with the water department? It's not related to the pond, is it?
No.
Okay.
No, they're good with us. It's just, really they'll be required to get.
Snakes and mosquitoes when I heard that.
But
I said when they talked about the pond, I thought about snakes and mosquitoes. But gotta do what you gotta do.
no, they had to put a video camera down the.
That makes sense. It's also low.
Yeah.
Yeah, so to follow up on that, along Broad Street, we are replacing plus or minus 300 feet of public water main for the new connections, pretty old there. So that'll be a benefit to the city. And then I believe it's along Tuna Street. We will be lining the existing sanitary sewer prior to us making our connections due to the condition of that existing main. So there's some public infrastructure improvement associated with the project. Thank you for mentioning that.
We looked at the video.
Yeah.
Is it a tree trunk?
It's just old, yeah.
Oh, okay.
It's just old.
Some animals running around down there.
I bet. All right. Members of the board, we have before us an action. Is there a motion to approve the 4 development plan reviews, DPR number 0183, 0184, 0185, and 0188, with the 2 conditions listed and discussed? Is there a motion?
So moved.
It's been moved by, give it to Rachel. Is there a second? All right, second by Martin. Are there any further questions for the applicant or staff? Hearing none, seeing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carried. Thank you very much, gentlemen.
Thank you.
All right. Next on our meeting agenda is also development plan review for 55 Mill Street, Eastern Gas Transmission and Storage Incorporated. Welcome.
Hello.
Evening.
You got 10 minutes to explain your project and what you need to be done for the board. This is a replacement of existing public utility, which is minor which is a section of the Eastern Gas Transmission and Storage Incorporated existing TL 470 pipeline. I don't know what the heck that means, and you're gonna tell us.
Do you want to start? Or you?
Do you have this sort of short couple slides?
Yeah.
So we're replacing approximately 2,000 feet of 30-inch natural gas pipeline from the area by the dog park on 55 Mill to the Bethlehem sewer pump station.
Just that simple.
That's the goal.
So the pipe will be installed via HDD, and we'll have a drill entry hole right beside the existing.
Horizontal directional drill.
Of an entry hole right by the existing station off of Mill Street. And this area here will be used for workspace.
And for introduction to Brent Warner from Eastern Gas and Amber Euler from Larson Design, managing permitting and design. So you have an existing station down there. You know, it's going to be 3 to 4 months in duration.
So we had discussed the noise ordinance at a prior meeting, and we prepared this noise contour map showing where the entry hole will be and then going out toward residential areas. Right now they're looking at working 12-hour shifts, and they're just expecting possibly one 24-hour operation during pullback. So pullback is when they drill under, then they have the pipe and they have to pull it back out. And then they also brought up that Allegheny PD would need access back to the field. And since Mill Street, the unnamed road along the station there off of Mill Street may be temporarily blocked, we provided this detour plan.
That's a 1 to 2 day blockage during the pullback operations.
Just don't blow us up. I do not have any comments outside of that. I'm sure the design professionals and the engineering professionals and the drill professionals will keep us all in safe hands, but I don't want to be on the news. Anybody else have any questions before we get to the next one that's doing the exact same thing?
I was just looking at that. They're
Yeah.
different, right?
They're different, just parallel. They're right beside them.
Coordinated effort, everybody's infrastructure went bad at the same time. Oh, scary. Staff notes.
So, right, to differentiate the two, this one is for the acronym EGTS, Eastern Gas Transmission Service, EGTS. So they have the existing kind of enclosed chain link area down on Mill Road across from the dog park, for anybody that's familiar. We have spoken about this before, as well as with National Grid, which is the next project up. Just for anybody that isn't familiar, the area kind of past the paved part, past the residential area, does have, active farm and recreational. There's pedestrian pathways along Norman's Kill, which is the river. Norman's Kill Farm is home to APD mounted, horses, Angus cattle, chickens, and in the winter grazing sheep, which belong to Tivoli Reserve. Norman's Kill Farm Community Garden plots are there, all the way at the dead end. There's a circle loop, which is operated by Capital Roots and available to the public. There's also Norman's Kill Farm Dog Park, which is maintained by City of Albany DGS, which also means the DGS goes there and do the trash cans. Norman's Kill farm hiking trails originate at a gravel parking lot, kind of prior to a historic building. All the buildings on Normansville Farm are historic, National Historic buildings, including the blacksmith building, and the hiking trails are maintained by Mohawk Hudson Land Conservancy. This is a bit of an odd project to come before the planning board. The reason it triggers the major development plan review is because it's in the Normanskill overlay. So there's a part in the listing of everything that triggers a major development plan review in which it says if there's a disturbance of more than 10,000 square feet of surface land area or the excavation of more than 120 yards of dirt or fill, then it's required to come before the board. So that's why they're here. Because obviously there's no new structures, there's no changes to structures, there's no changes of use existing. So that's really what it's here for. The project is classified as a type 2 action under seeker, so no further review is needed. They are obviously getting separate permits as needed from any state agencies as required. The project was referred to Albany County Planning Board, recommendation was received, and they recommended that we modify approval to include notification to the town of Bethlehem. We did already notify the town of Bethlehem as required. So the notification to Albany County Planning Board is 239M. The notification to town of Bethlehem is 239NN, which is just fine. We have not received comments, but I believe you also have to notify and work with them because the project is also occurring within the town of Bethlehem. The project was referred for departmental review via our new online application portal. You'll see the name of the application is different. It's not the usual project number, CPR, whatever. So the water department has provided some specific comment letter today or yesterday, I believe. So I uploaded that for your review. And then Department of General Services commented that pedestrian and car access to the dog park and community garden would need to be maintained, which we've discussed previously at our internal technical review committee. And that limiting access to the working hayfield may require compensation of crop loss, which again, we've discussed previously and we've acknowledged. Engineering, the Department of Engineering approved the site plan with revisions. And then traffic engineering, we can discuss on the next slide. Just briefly, the noise kind of waiver technically wouldn't be in front of the planning board. But that section of the code is not part of our USDO code, it's a different section of the city code. Discussed with the director of buildings, with the neighborhood services, and with someone else in court counsel, Rob McGee. And basically, after realizing it's one night, we kind of need to know the specific dates. So I think we would recommend generally that it would be approved, but also when applying for the building permit, I think they would make kind of a written formal request for that. So we would include that language in the development plan review. That's the specific section of the code that they would be requesting relief from. It is kind of not necessarily something they would be going against because it's 10 p.m. to 7 a.m. They might not even necessarily going beyond 10 p.m. It's not necessarily loud or unusual noise, and it's not necessarily in the case of emergency. So it's more of just to have just in case. The temporary detour plan was provided and requested review by the traffic engineering division. The intent is for the access to be maintained for farm equipment specifically, and basically emergency vehicle access, not public access. So it's really just for like APD mounted unit people and farm equipment, and so they will access if needed for those 1 to 2 days. That's kind of our interpretation because currently it's not a free flow accessible road. Again, maintaining the access to those public amenities. And then there would be a number of temporary permanent easements for access during or after construction for both the city of Albany and Albany Water Board owned parcels, because there are a combination of 4 parcels involved. But as I said, it's kind of an unusual development plan review, so many of the regularly cited standards don't really apply to the project scope, and they don't meet the thresholds. And we're still just working through those departmental comments, and we'll wrap them up quite quickly. Hopefully we can recommend approval maybe on the consent on the next agenda. So right now we're not recommending any action.
Any more questions? Is the motion table?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to table until departmental comments have been received and addressed by the applicant. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carry. Thank you. See you soon.
Thanks.
The old name now, NIMO. All right. National Grid, are they here too? Come on down. Replacement of existing public utility minor, which is section of National Grid's existing E30 pipeline.
Hello. So we won't make you go through everything twice, but as you noted earlier, we are here for very much the same project. I'm Allison Phillips with Young Summer. We're outside counsel for National Grid. We also have Will Hackett and Steve Pataglia, who are here from National Grid, and can assist with any technical questions you guys might have about our component of this work. Basically, the project site, again, we're in the Norman Scale overlay. Project site is basically adjacent to the work area you were just seeing on the prior application. The National Grid component of the work, it's on what we refer to as our pipeline E30. There's approximately, I think, a total of 2,100 linear feet of main that's going to have to be replaced, but only 500 of that is located in the city of Albany. The remainder is in the adjacent town of Bethlehem. So we are pursuing, necessary review and approval with the town of Bethlehem at the same time as pursuing the approvals we need from the city of Albany. And as you noted, we are in the Norman Scale overlay, so that does trigger the major site development plan review, which is why we're here tonight. So this is our existing condition sheet showing the location of the pipeline. Pretty straightforward, natural gas pipeline. I think it's steel encased. The next slide would be the limits of disturbance for the proposed work. We have prepared a SWIP for the project that has been reviewed by the water department, and we have received comments back from them and updated the SWIP to address those comments. We did receive an acceptance and sign-off letter from the Department of Water yesterday, and that's been uploaded to the online application portal. So this is the proposed site plan that shows the area of pipe relocation on the National Grid portion of the work. You'll see where we cross over the municipal boundary. Those areas. I think it's the area shown.
So orange is directional drill, HCD, like you just mentioned, and then purple is open trench. And then the teal shaded areas, above ground feature that'll be added as part of the project.
And this is just some additional information similar to what you just saw for the BHE portion of the work. We anticipate the construction to last 4 months, and we'll be working within those 12-hour construction periods, as they had said 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Again, all efforts are going to be made to stick within those 12-hour windows, but there will be points in time where the work can't stop, that pullback situation that they explained previously. But otherwise, as you kind of ran through the standards, we feel we're compliant with the law and, can abide by those standards. We do have noted here the project's not expected to impact access to the community garden, the dog park, and the farm field perimeter walking path. Also, which we submitted in our comments back to the planning department, the access to the Albany PD facility won't be impeded. It can be accessed further down the road. And again, similar to the prior application, meetings with neighborhood associations or community organizations, not anticipated. It really is just a need to, relocate those lines. It's an existing, minor public utility under the city's code, and a project that's needed to maintain reliable service.
You guys had different hours than the last one, right? Were your hours different than the last submission?
They're
We
low,
had
they're
7
low
to
shorter.
7 p.m.
Yours are shorter, right?
And they're have the
To 10 p.m.
to 10,
To 10 p.m.
and if they wanted to go
beyond.
all night long like Lionel Richie.
And essentially.
But that was just once, right? Wasn't that like that they might request the
Yeah,
all night?
we phrased it differently, but the intention is the
Is the
same.
same.
Our plan would be to work during, normal hours. But there are some tasks, and pullback is the one we're generally referring to, where you can't stop that once it starts. So if that goes very quickly, you could finish in the window. If it goes slower, then you may push into the later hours.
Sure.
Staff show.
Again, it's a number of parcels, they all overlap except for one additional, which is what we're calling this project site, which is Rear Mill Road. All the same concerns as the previous project. The next slide. Again, it has been referred to the Albany County Planning Board as well as the Town of Bethlehem. And the project was also referred for departmental review online. As Alison mentioned, the water department approved the slip yesterday, yes, Monday, with the revisions that have been made. The project was referred for comment to DGS, and engineering provided a comment letter stating the road to be constructed in coordination with the other project. And I've also provided the same responses that Alison provided as far as the expected noise and hours to the building department for when that building permit is eventually submitted as far as noise levels and impact. That's the same section of building operations code that we were discussing. And as far as the access for APD, it's possible the traffic engineering would want to review some sort of a future plan, but if access is not impeded, it's unlikely it would be required. Again, temporary permanent easements may be needed for those during or after construction for the City of Albany and Albany Water Board owned parcels. And again, a lot of the normal sections of USDO standards don't apply. Just to meet those thresholds. And same recommendation, just tabling until we just finalize those departmental comments.
Makes sense.
All right. There's nothing further to discuss. Is there a motion to table this development plan review until the departmental comments and are addressed by the applicant?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Seconded.
It's been moved and seconded to table this DPR until all departmental comments have been received and addressed by the applicant. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed? All right, motion carries. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We're talking about pipes in the very near future. Our last item today for the meeting is another development plan review for 575 Broadway, 575 Broadway Holdings, the conversion of existing 30,980 square foot building into a dwelling. This multi-unit containing 50 dwelling units and office general space, including the existing 15,282 square foot data center.
Okay, good evening to the board. My name is Joe Panchero. I work for Redbird Development Partners, which is the owning entity or company behind 575 Broadway Holdings LLC. This project is probably better known as Union Station, formerly known as Peter Kiernan Plaza, right in the heart of downtown. My goal for tonight is really just to reintroduce the project to you. I was here about a year ago. We have spent probably the better part of the last 2 years trying to figure out a path forward for this building that both works, financially and also kind of preserves the public aspect of this incredible building. I think we've finally done that. So really just looking to reintroduce it, get your immediate feedback, and incorporate that into some of the revised materials that I owe staff. There's a good drone shot of the building. I'm sure most people are aware of it. If you're not, I will personally tour you through because it is one of the most beautiful buildings in all of Albany. Existing conditions, as far as site plan review, we're really not touching the site at all here, besides what is required or advised of us by staff. There really, if any, public improvements need to be made, we're happy to do that. But as far as landscaping or site changes, we're really not changing anything at all. We're going to work within the existing landscaping beds. I think you can actually go to the next slide. Oh, that's just an overhead visual shot. So all of that green is just existing landscaping beds that we'll just work within with new plantings. There's some light fixtures that need to be replaced that we'll work with the city on. There's public light fixtures in the right of way. If there's any crosswalks or anything that need to be repainted, we're happy to do that as well. All the normal things. We've done this before with the city in downtown. And then separately, we'll present a new signage package for the building. We'll wash the exterior of the building with historically appropriate methods. Obviously, this is on the National Register. We will be utilizing state and federal historic tax credits. So everything we do, both on the inside and out, will have to be approved by SHPO and National Park Service. So really all the work is on the inside. And the project consists of sort of 50 apartments on the upper floors where the offices were when the building was built as a train station. We are not really touching that grand lobby at all. We're going to preserve that for public, I'll say public use, public-private use. This ground level is actually sort of subgrade. When you walk in, this is below that main lobby. This is where the existing data center is. It was built in 2003 after 9/11 by Bank of America as sort of an ancillary data center to New York City. So all the infrastructure is there. It needs some updating, but we think we have a partner that will kind of reactivate this space as a modern data center. So all of that will stay. All the area on the left that's shaded is all mechanical and utility space. Will kind of stay as is. Sorry.
Can I just have a quick?
Yeah.
Where's the data center being proposed?
So it's that middle white, I should have color coded this, I apologize. It's that middle white box. Everything in the middle is, so it's not the shaded area, but just that big middle block. The whole floor is data center, with the exception of the shaded area.
What's a data center?
Think an Amazon data center. It's a room full of big computers.
Servers.
Yeah, and they store data. It's the cloud. I don't know how it works. I wish I could explain to you, but I just know it's there and it's a bunch of computers. So this is the main lobby level, which, like I said, we're really not going to touch it all. We're going to preserve it. Hopefully some public and private events. So the best example I can give you is over the holidays, the downtown bid had their holiday market here, which went really, really well. That is something we want to do more of in this space. So kind of renting it out on an event by basis. It's a beautiful space. And then on the right there, that's separate. There'll be some apartments on the first floor, but you can access those without going through the lobby if you needed, if there were some sort of event going on. I think I have a picture of the lobby on the next slide. Yep, there you go. So that will basically look just like it does now. We're not really going to touch that space at all. The only thing we will do is some improvements sort of on the back edge there to separate where the apartments are from this lobby. So we've got some walls to build kind of at the ends there, and then on the top level there on the balcony looking over. And then the second level there, that existing glass, there'll be a hallway on the other side of that before you get to the apartments. So again, the holiday market was great. I live downtown. We did the hot chocolate stroll. That's the perfect example of what we'd like to use this space for. And then also, there was a private Halloween party that they rented the space out for. There was a pop-up fundraiser for a local politician that they used the space for. So still preserving this space so that people from the public will hopefully get the chance to come in and kind of, Albany's train station. Going up, this is the second level. So this is really all apartments around the outer edges. Studios, 1 beds, 2 beds. They'll be really fantastic. On the top there, you've got views looking over the garage towards the river once you get past the highway. And then beautiful downtown views looking up towards the Capitol on the bottom side.
They're gonna drop that highway.
Let's hope. Top floor, again, the left and right side of your screen, those are old offices. The last tenant that was in there during COVID was SEFQ at Broadview. And then the 2 sort of top and bottom parts of your screen, those are the existing mezzanines. So we are going to get creative up there and sort of set those back from the railing and enclose them so that you won't see them from the lobby. They're going to have beautiful arched windows that are original to the train station. And again, preserving the kind of the outer ring. So this is a view from the 3rd floor balcony looking towards the lobby. Again, this space really won't change. This will kind of be the barrier between the apartments and the lobby. Behind this picture where I'm standing is where the hallway will be. And then there's 2 elevators both on the south and north end of the building. Length of construction is 1 year. Hopefully starting in the next few months once we get through the process here. There you have our unit mix, 8 studios, 31 beds, and 12 2-beds. Those apartment sizes, I would say, are right along par with all the other apartments we own in downtown. The data center there is 15,000 square feet. And then we're calling it the Grand Lobby. It's about 10,000 square feet preserved. As I mentioned earlier, we will use both state and federal historic tax credits. Happy to answer any other questions, take any feedback. We owe some additional documents to staff and incorporate some of the comments we received last year, most of which I think are minor, and can be easily answered. Any other questions?
So no grocery store down there, huh?
No.
Didn't we talk about that?
We did, I know. We
Like,
tried.
no CVS.
No, and no grades either, apparently.
CVS is closing everywhere.
I mean,
right, yeah.
nowhere to
Right.
get something like you need at
Um,
lunchtime.
We own a lot of vacant commercial space in downtown.
Yeah.
And we would love to have a market. Fortunately, we're not market operators. We do it ourselves, but if somebody were to come along, we've got lots of spaces that they could use.
Yeah.
I wish they would go into 40 Steuben. It used to be a Steuben market.
Yeah.
But not
Yeah.
really. Yeah. We're struggling to rent that space too. The retail and commercial office space, it's still a slow go. Yeah.
Sure.
I mean, what do you think you guys got a lot of units downtown. I think since we've been on the board, we've done a lot of Redbird.
I've brought lots before you guys.
So, I mean, how many more before it says like, all right, we got to have the other stuff to go along with it?
Right, the stuff that.
Yeah, I would have told you we would have hit that point already. I thought we would have when we started in 2018 on the Kenmore.
Yeah.
I thought that was going to do it. Again, I live in one of the buildings on Columbia Street that we own. It's pretty dim down there on a Thursday night at 7 p.m. Unless there's a show at the Palace or MVP, there's not much going on. So I don't know. And the only thing we can really do is just hopefully keep building some more and get more people down there, and the rest will follow. But apparently we haven't hit that point yet.
So this does not have an AMI component?
So we've got the 60% requirement.
You do?
For the city.
Okay.
For the city, we have that. And then this is workforce housing, like the rest of the stuff.
Got it.
We don't do luxury. It's just not what we do.
And you probably talked about this the last time you were here, but the lobby, the area that you envision having like for public events, Halloween parties, things of that nature, On a regular basis, is that accessible to the public, or the building you can only access if you're a tenant of the building unless there is some kind of event?
Correct, yeah. So the way we're thinking about it right now is that the building would normally be locked on a Tuesday afternoon unless there were some sort of event going on. You know, we are also preserving that lobby and for kind of the space around it for, you know, potential sort of pop-up shops. If someone came along and said, hey, I do have a deli, but I need a space for the next 6 months in the summer, come on in, and we can work with that. So we're intentionally preserving it because we're not sure what is going to be the final use of that lobby yet.
Sure. Especially with the park.
Yeah, right, that will hopefully help things
That
out.
should help, right?
Yeah, it should help things out there. You know, we're doing a Live at 5 right in front of the building this summer. So, you know, it'll be sort of activated, and that's kind of our goal here.
And is that main lobby area, is that accessible?
It is only from the parking garage side.
Okay.
There's a one-story, it's more than a lift, it's an elevator.
Okay.
On the parking garage side.
And are any of the units specifically, sorry, that's probably in here.
Handicap accessible. They're not, just because of the historic requirement, they're not required to be.
Okay.
You know, we try to maintain, we call it visitability, that you could visit, but they're not required to be ADA accessible.
All right, any staff notes to go along with this?
Just briefly, we informed the applicant and most of them, but just for the record. For seeker action, it's classified as a type 2, so no further action is required. We did refer this to the Albany County Planning Board as required. They have issued a recommendation and an advisory note. It is in the Historic Resources District as well. Any of the work that would be completed, minor or major, would require a COA permit. Based on the application, it seems it's primarily minor, if anything. Just sort of briefly going over the number of units and the purpose of the proposal. To reiterate, the proposed repair of the steps that would require the COA that the application speaks to. The recreation space that is proposed, just the floor plan and the site plan needs to be updated to sort of identify what those spaces are. The laundry facilities that's required for the mixed unit dwelling would need to be called out.
I'll just add a note because every unit will have laundry.
Perfect. Like you said, you're meeting the requirement for the inclusionary housing compliance by 5 units that you've provided. There are some requirements for street amenities and street trees. Again, they are existing street, and once we get some of the updated stuff, we'll circulate within the departments and DGS and J. Levine, they'll comment on the street trees, street amenities. You know this, the benches, bike parking, just no trash cans would be considered. The proposal, the project does propose 10 bicycle parking spaces. They're just not called out in what areas, indoor or outdoor. The application says that they are.
Yeah, they're inside. I'll note the floor plan.
That makes sense.
Trash storage, just to call out on the floor plans. And the lighting, any proposed or exterior within the site plan, the photometrics, just addressing if there's any existing, and if there is any proposed, what is existing and what is proposed. And then you covered the signage packet that you'd be submitting.
All right, there's a recommendation to table until such time that the submission is completed to the city departments for review. Is there a motion?
Motion to table.
Second.
Seconded.
All right, it's been moved and seconded to table development plan review until such time as submission is completed, referred to the city departments for review. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carried.
Thank you all.
Exciting thing.
So they,
seem to hide the building.
yeah, so we are proposing to take them down. There was a note in the prior staff comment package, and that's what we're adding now, to work with the city arborist on that, because they do hide the building.
Joe.
And- Yes.
Hold that thought. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Seconded.
Without objection, the meeting is adjourned. Thank you. All right, please continue.